How about we start with a quick introduction from both you? Satu, why don't you begin?
So I'm, like you said, I'm working at Demos Helsinki think tank as a researcher, project manager, working a lot with consumer clean tech, smart apps, like you said.
Okay, and you, Anna?
Thank you. My name is Anne Jalkala, and I'm Vice President of Startup and Fund Investments at Fortum, a familiar Nordic clean energy company. And we are ensuring the long-term competitiveness of Fortum by investing in the most promising startups in clean tech and energy space.
Fantastic, fantastic. So everybody's heard of Fortum, right? Yeah, okay. So we'll start with you, Satu. Demos has done some very interesting research. You mentioned that consumer clean tech is one of your kind of fields that you've focused on recently. Where is clean tech at exactly as a sector, in your opinion?
Well, that's a big question. As we see here, I think we all agree it's in quite a change. So from this traditional end-of-pipe production, energy efficiency, we are really moving into consumption, experience, so really about consumer-oriented services. So like we just heard from the Rescue Club.
Mm-hmm. So it requires a smartphone usually, or what?
Yeah, they are usually smart, digital services, smart mobility, smart energy solutions, smart food, all these type of new services that make each of our life somehow cooler and easier every day.
And smarter. You mentioned smart probably 4 times in that response, which really is a great way to lead me into the next question is, what exactly is a smart up then in your research?
So we call smart apps as a business of consumer clean tech, basically. So startups who are doing smart things.
And is there any specific examples that you would point to that is a case of a smart up that you know of?
Yeah, I guess that we just heard Rescue Club is a perfect example.
Thanks for mentioning Rescue Club again. That's a good one. That's a good example.
Of a smart app. And I also saw here energy crowdfunding company. Swap.com is another perfect example of smart apps. I think there's a lot of them mainstreaming at the moment.
Beautiful, beautiful. Smart ups, everybody. It's going to be this new word that everybody's going to talk about over coffees and whatnot. So, Anna, with your role at Fortum, this company that nobody here knows about, can you explain, Fortum's activities now in the clean tech space? What are they up to?
So it's a really exciting period for Fortum right now. I think many of you know that Fortum sold its grid operations last year, resulting in a need to invest 9.3 billion euros. And we've made some acquisitions already to renew the company. We bought a company called Ecochem, which is a great circular economy. Not a startup, but rather a larger company. And of course, Fortum continues to do what it has been doing best, generating electricity and heat. But at the same time, we believe that the energy system is facing a huge transformation during the coming years. And to prepare for the society and to prepare as a company for this new energy future, the new energy reality, we have to tap into the most promising innovations and the fastest growing energy startups in the world. And the one vehicle to do that is to invest in those startups. So what we plan to do over the next years is to invest from 100 million euros to 200 million euros into the most promising energy startups. And at the same time, do partnerships and pilots with startups, which we're already doing. But now it's a time to ramp up these efforts.
That's an interesting bit of information for the crowd. So the biggest energy company in Finland is investing quite heavily into clean tech and new startups there. So we are in the process of what we would call at Clean Tech Invest a paradigm shift in the energy system. What type of energy system do you see over the horizon for the Nordics in particular?
That's a great question. So, of course, there's plenty of uncertainty in terms of what the energy system will look like, but we know that it's going to be a lot more cleaner energy system. What the world leaders committed themselves in Paris last November was a huge commitment. So if we look at what the world leaders actually promised, that what we're basically taking the whole energy system into zero level emissions by 2050. And that means that the energy mix will look a lot different after the coming years. And this promise, this commitment by world leaders actually drives the future of new energy and clean tech startups. And we believe strongly in solar economy, meaning solar is a big thing. You know, at this point, solar is 100 of the cost that it was in 1970s. So the cost curve, how rapidly it has come down in solar PV, has surprised all of us, even the energy experts. And part of the solar economy is, of course, wind, because here in the northern hemisphere, we don't get to enjoy as much sunlight as for example, in California.
I didn't notice this when I came here from Australia, no.
So we're going to need an energy system that includes renewables, a lot of wind and solar, also hydro, and a mixture of different cleaner energy sources.
On that cost reduction that we've seen, you've mentioned that it's 100th of what it was in the 1970s. Do we expect the same reduction in costs to occur for the battery storage as well? What's your opinion on this? And I'd love to hear yours as well, Satu, when we get there.
It's a great question. So for sure, battery cost is going down, and it's going down rapidly. It's really hard to envision, and I think there are many different opinions in terms of is the cost curve coming down as rapidly as for solar? My hunch is that we will be surprised in terms, and we're already seeing the deployment of batteries more and more coming into the system. And that also creates potential for demand response solutions. So you can actually control the demand in a much more flexible way than you were in the old energy system. And that creates great business opportunities for startups as well.
Fantastic. I'll come back to you. I mean, did you have anything else to add on the battery costs?
I agree on everything Anna is saying. In addition to that, still, when thinking about this huge change we are going to happen in the energy system, my guess is that different distributed systems will increase, and this is of course a great opportunity for new business. And it's also it will also change our personal role to energy. So changing from only energy consumers to become energy producers. And,
prosumers, you might say?
Prosumers, exactly. And it has been interesting in many other fields, this as a service models. This week, one of the biggest banks in Finland, Osuuspankki, announced that they will go into mobility business, and they will start to lease electric cars. And I think would be interesting to think when the energy sector will go to as a service models.
Stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. Some big changes ahead. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. A real pleasure. If anyone has any questions, do we have any audience questions really quickly? No? Nobody wants to know what Fortum's going to do with all that money? That's a pretty big deal, right? No? Okay. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Thank you so much.
Take it away, band.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. Thank you.